Tane originally bought the land back in 1979 as a homestead, a means of getting away from the world and being able to subsist on his own. And so he found this parcel in South Kona, and it was very wild. It needed a lot of change to make it agriculturally viable. He was building the house, planting the orchards. In 1990, I came to Hawaii to study Lomi Lomi massage with Auntie Margaret Machado at KA Beach. I arrived a week early before massage school, and I was staying with a friend of mine up at Shiganji Mission with Mickey McCoy. And so she had the habit of coming up to the farm once a week and working with the plants with Tane. And so I was in the vehicle that was driving her up to drop her off, and when I saw the place, I thought, wow, this looks really magical. This looks like a cool spot. And then I met Tane and I thought, oh, that's something I haven't seen before. You know, Tane was really charismatic, and he was very excited about what he was doing on the farm, and really liked the plant-person connection, and that was very attractive. So I got off the vehicle and said, hey, can you use some extra help today? And so he hired me for $5 an hour. And we ended up spending the rest of the day working on plants together and weeding and talking about land in Hawaii, how hard it is to make a living here and how to keep land in production and agriculture. And he had chosen this spot to be his place to make his stand, you know, to build a life. And that's something that I was also looking for at that time, like a place to put my energy and see it come back to me. He was explaining that one of his visions for the business was to allow farmers to be able to make their living from their land and let go of the day job and have farming be the day job. So that was the conversation we had pretty much all day long. And I fell in love with the concept, I fell in love with him, I fell in love with the place. Initially, when I first moved onto the farm with Tane, he had two friends he was working with, Cab Baber and Harvey Sakharov. They were growing herbs mostly for a couple of accounts up the coast. There weren't really, all the resorts that are there now hadn't been built yet. We would call and get orders on Sunday night and then wake up Monday morning and harvest and go down to Cab's farm, and he would be harvesting, and then Harvey would arrive with his harvest, and then we would pack out our orders, get them in the back of the truck, and drive straight up to deliver really early in the morning so that it would still be cool. We didn't have any refrigeration. We just, you know, based on speed, getting it from the field to the destination, to the customer, and then relied on their refrigeration, basically. So we started to need the infrastructure. We bought a Toyota van, a minivan with rear air conditioning. This was state of the art at the time. By setting up the infrastructure, then we needed more product to move through it to make it work. We started reaching out to other friends in different climate areas and said, hey, you know, you're at a great elevation for this crop. We can't really grow it because it's too wet where we are. Would you grow this for us? And then we met with Peter Merriman about the Hawaii Regional Cuisine Group, and he was forming this kind of group of a dozen chefs, top chefs from across the state, and he invited us to kind of be the agricultural consultants. What he needed to teach the other chefs, or what all the chefs that were in that group wanted to know, was, you know, how do we support farmers in growing for us? What do they need? You know, what does a farmer need to be successful so that we can get fresh product? And so we worked really closely with them to explain, you know, a farmer needs to know that if they drop seed now and it comes to ready to harvest in 6 weeks, that it's going to be sold still. You know, don't tell us to drop seed now and then 6 weeks from now you've changed your menu and you no longer need it. So we need consistency and reliability. And they said, that's funny, that's what we need from farmers too. If we put something on the menu, we want to know that we're going to have it. And especially if we have your name on the menu, it's important that you come through for us. So reliability, consistency, those were big buzzwords in the beginning. And we realized that the only way to really provide that was to have multiple sources for the same item. So each item had to have at least 2 growers for it. So that's been sort of a model that we grew on to begin with. We learned a lot from the Hawaii regional cuisine chefs as well, because they were willing to bring us into the walk-ins and say, this is what we're bringing in from the mainland. This is how they're packaging it. The weight of the box is more than the product inside. We're paying for cardboard to be shipped here. It's really costly and it's not fresh. And so can you duplicate this for us? And instead of giving it to us in a 2-pound box, bring it to us in a 5-pound box. And that way the cost per pound of packaging goes down. So we learned a lot, we shared a lot of information, and it was, you know, in the spirit of wanting to be successful and also support each other. You know, they wanted fresh product. We wanted to make a living farming, and that really is the support that we needed to do that. The reason that we're growing microgreens now is because of a chef who came to Four Seasons Hawaiʻi. Her name is Megan, and she was from Texas. Her signature thing was microgreens. We had never even heard of microgreens, but she was importing them from Chef's Garden in Ohio, and the FedEx was not acceptable to the resort. The cost was too much, and they said, if you want to continue to use this product, you're going to have to find it locally. So Megan came and toured our farm and pointed to the seedling trays that we were ready to set out, and said, this is what I want, this big. And we just thought it was a lark. We thought she was 1 in a million, you know, and it turned out to be a trend. So that's when we shifted into growing a lot of microgreens and edible flowers. And you know, these high-end crops, at first it felt wrong to be growing fufu garnish instead of real food for real people, but it helped us pay the bills and it helped us employ people and grow. And so, you know, we had to come to terms with that. It was, you know, a little tricky, but feeling okay with that. Because of that income, then we were able to expand. And now we can ask folks to grow commodity crops and be able to, you know, give them a standing order and guarantee, like, hey, if you drop the seed for us, we will buy it and we'll pay you every 2 weeks without fail. Now our network is over 170 farmers every year that we work with. And weekly, it's about 70. We work with about 70 farmers on average. So, you know, when I cut checks twice a month, I'm looking at the stack of checks, it's 70 to 75 checks. That's all community-based. When I look at the addresses, you know, it's all local. It all goes in the local mail slot. A food hub is aggregating produce and then handling everything from the farm gate onward toward the customer. So the farmer can turn around and go right back to what they were doing. They can go pick up their amendments and get back to the farm and take care of whatever is pressing there, and allow us to then take it from that state to getting it to the customer. So that involves marketing, maintaining those relationships, making promises, keeping promises, getting the produce to the customer in a timely way on a regular schedule. Once you've done the delivery, it doesn't end. You then have to make sure that you collect on that invoice, make sure that you get paid. Any corrections that were made get changed. It's a lot of paperwork. It's not something that every, 70 farmers want to be doing, right? 70 farmers would rather drop off at a site and have our entity deal with the accounting and the liability insurance, and all kinds of pressures that farmers would feel and have barriers to their market, is solved by a food hub. A food hub goes to the expense, they pay for the infrastructure, and then everybody benefits. So it's a traditional business model. We're an S corporation. We're not a cooperative, but we work cooperatively, and we have that goal of community building. The Fresh Feast CSA that we run is unique nationally because it's year-round. It's multi-farmer. So we consolidate harvests from 70 farms, and then we offer it out to about 125 families pre-COVID. And then March 2020 rolls around and all of our wholesale customers shut down in the period of about 7 to 10 days. We had 86 customers and then it went to 6. Losing so many customers right away like that all at once was pretty terrifying. Because I feel that weight of responsibility to farmers, but also to our employees, wanting to keep them employed, wanting to move forward in the face of not really knowing what to expect. There was so much uncertainty and not really being confident in knowing that we were going to get through it. It was a really frightening time because it was unknown. That was kind of a panic moment for me when I saw all these resorts shutting down, and I thought, what's going to happen with my farmers? You know, I want them to continue to be able to sell the crops that they have in the ground for us. You know, what am I going to do? And fortunately, the CSA was a solution. People wanted contactless food delivery. And so the CSA model was already right there. It was picking up a box at a CSA location with no contact. So it was a really good solution that was right there in place. And we had been already operating for 12 years that way. So we knew the nature of the beast and how to manage it. What we weren't quite prepared for was that the CSA would explode to 450 families in the course of just 4 weeks or so. We weren't prepared for that, but we were also thrilled to have a market avenue for all this food and to keep our staff employed. Pre-COVID, our sales were about 80% wholesale and 20% retail. And then once COVID struck, we shifted to about 65% of our business was CSA. And that was interesting to have that be the majority of our sales was direct to the consumer. It felt good to supply Kama'aina, and that was sort of a dream come true for us. Yeah. We've been operating at the site where we are now for over 25 years, and we just recently purchased our own building in Kealakekua around the corner. So that will give us 4 times the space, and it'll help us integrate our mission all in one site. This food hub Hui is what I see the future of agriculture to be in Hawaii. What I would love to see and what our purpose is to manifest a food hub in each region across the state, and then each individual hub can broadcast what they have abundance of. I find like our food hub has really had to go through adaptations in order to thrive and survive in an uncertain climate. It's demonstrated resiliency for our business, but also for our community. And I think it's a model for how we will get by.
I know, of course, both of our heads went there.
Survive.